Hi, everybody. Welcome to the set of The Right Side with Doug Billings. A quick shout out to a friend of the show, the Commander's Artist. He got started doing some work for the president, therefore the name Commander's Artist. But he's also become good friends of not only this program, but he's a good friend of General Michael Flynn's. And you ought to check out this guy's artwork. Go to his website, www.thecommandersartist.com, and check this out. Look at this stuff that I'm showing you. It's incredible. The patriotism, the quality, the uniqueness of these prints is astounding, and you can have one. Imagine one framed in your home or your den, in your study, or in your studio, like this. They're beautiful, and you really do need to check him out. A personal friend of General Mike Flynn's, a personal friend of this program, thecommandersartist.com. And when you go to checkout, make sure you enter the coupon code DOUG, D-O-U-G, that's me. You get a little discount from the Commander's Artist when you do that. The coupon code is Doug. Check out this website. Check out the artwork. Patriotism galore. And it's really, really cool, good quality stuff. Top shelf, as they say. TheCommandersArtist.com. Cheers. Hi, everybody. Welcome to The Right Side with Doug Billings. Thanks for watching. Please make sure that you subscribe to the channel. You'll get updates of all of the shows that we do. We have General Mike Flynn coming up on tomorrow's program. It will drop on Friday morning, February 5th. General Flynn, you don't want to miss that one. Subscribe to this channel so that you get notifications about all of that. Also, please stop by our GoFundMe page. Consider sponsoring the program. We would be grateful and blessed if you did. Today, right here on The Right Side with Doug Billings, he's back again. Always interesting, always a unique spin on the information, and his opinion is valued around the world, literally. Simon Parkes, right here, right now, on The Right Side with Doug Billings. Here we go. Well, Simon Parkes, I'm happy to see that the rumors of your demise were greatly exaggerated.
Yes, it was a real chap, a real guy who had, looks like he was murdered. But what's astounding is that this guy was reported missing or murdered back in, I think, 1986. And so it was very strange that the day after YouTube threw me off and Facebook threw me off properly, the very next day, this started to circulate. I don't believe that's a coincidence. And so whilst it's awful that this is a real person, I think it's very cynical of Facebook in particular to do that, because it's disrespectful to the young man who really died.
Yes.
And it's just ludicrous.
Absolutely so. And Simon, that is all part and parcel of what I think this world is facing as a crisis. The sharing of information, they silence you. I've said on this show, we give a platform that's non-censored. Now, between you and me, we're not censored, but we are at the mercy of the big tech corporations, the YouTubes, the Googles, the Facebooks of the world. And that is a real issue, because we can't, as citizens of any country, begin to make up our minds about anything unless we know the full story.
I think, Doug, what's to bring it right down to the ground level here is that, you could go out into the United States, or I could go out into Great Britain, and I could say a bunch of things, and a policeman would walk past and there'd be no problem. But if I write the same thing on YouTube or Facebook, a private company that I never elected, that never served as a lawmaker, has the right to silence me. Now, that doesn't seem right, that the law of the land says that's okay, you can say that on the sidewalk, but you can't say it on social media. And I think that's the problem, that governments across the world have abdicated responsibility and given what some people call big tech, I'll just say the big social media companies, given them the right to police the the country. Crazy.
Right. Yeah. I on the one hand, Facebook, Google, Twitter, all of the big heavy hitters with regards to social media will say that we are the public square, and you should be able to communicate with each other. We are we're the new water cooler of the workplace, for example. When I was in corporate America,
Okay.
Unions, for example, in the United States were famous for saying things like, well, we can say whatever we want about our employer online. You can't fire us just because we said our boss is a jerk or whatever, because we are the new water cooler of the 21st century. And yet the caveat is the conversations around this new water cooler have to be in alignment with the liberal narrative.
Sure.
Yep.
Sure. I'm waiting for them to say, what we can and can't say in church. That'll be the next thing.
Oh, yeah. Imagine that. Well, and I think, speaking of church, I just did a show the other day where I commented about what's lacking in the world, not just the United States, but religious leaders around the world are now afraid to speak the truth from the pulpit. We're afraid to push back on this menacing left liberal mob. Because they're afraid to offend anybody. They have now given up truth to hostage to the narrative of the left. What do you think?
Well, your listeners might be interested to know the reason that I was thrown off YouTube, because they did give me a reason, and I referred to President Trump supporters as patriots, but apparently that's not what YouTube classifies them as. YouTube classifies Trump supporters as violent criminal gangs. So I was thrown off YouTube because, quote, I have been supporting violent criminal gangs. Now, what's incredible is that in Great Britain, I could, on social media, I wouldn't, but I could talk about violent soccer hooligans, and that'd be perfectly fine. But if I talk about some people who stand on the steps of the Capitol building waving a flag, I'm not talking about the Antifa that got into the building. That's a violent criminal gang. So to be honest and truthful with you and the audience, I know the stealing of election is a really big deal, but you know what? The situation with the media, that's pretty big as well.
Amen. I agree. And we don't need to say that people, godly men, you and me, and others who we speak to, the audience, the vast majority of both of our audiences, godly people, we are not at all for any of the violence that occurred at the Capitol. It's crazy to suggest we would be.
No. I mean, there isn't a single video clip or audio clip of me pushing violence. I've always been for peaceful demonstration, but this is the difference. You see, the law of the land would say that I was innocent, but a private social media company can say we don't like it. It's like going into a theater and there's usually a little label that says the management reserve the right to refuse entry to any patron, and that's exactly what it is.
My goodness. Yep. Well said. Okay, Simon, let's take a look now at where your thoughts are, just as a means by updating us on what are your thoughts from January 3rd to today. What are the updates that you have? Where is your mind? What are you thinking? What are you hearing?
Sometimes I don't know where my mind is. The news coming out of America is constant. Unfortunately, 90% of it is inaccurate. I don't mean people are deliberately lying. It's just they pick a ball up and they run with it. It's not happens to be the right ball. My view, first of all, is it's going exactly the way that those who are on the Trump side imagined it would go. Now I was having a discussion with Charlie Ward and Sasha Stone a couple of days back, and I was saying that that's all very well, but the good guys can't afford to leave the audience behind them. They need to take the audience with you, and the audience now are to the point where they want something to happen. I genuinely know that the people who call the shots, they're not that bothered, unfortunately, about what the audience wants. They're focusing on what they call the bigger picture. But this is about a fight so that a country America is a worthy place for the people to live in. And if there's a massive disconnect, not just between the bad people and the audience or the people, but the good guys, if the audience, let's just call it the audience, if the people of America feel that they're not connecting with the good guys, then the people of America mustn't be taken for granted.
Right.
So we need some action fairly soon. I know we've seen it with the FBI shootings, and by the way, that wasn't what was portrayed, isn't actually what happened. We've seen strange things in the White House. And so I think there's enough evidence for many people to take heart. But until those announcements are made over American media, I don't think many people will believe it's actually happening. Even if I give you a list of people who've been arrested, it's not having the effect, because so many people are being arrested, charged, or threatened to be charged and released back. And so, of course, people are saying, well, why is that person back? And it's very difficult, but it's very difficult.
You mentioned the big picture, that the good guys here don't want to take action quite yet, that they're more concerned about the big picture. Elaborate on the big picture for us, Simon. What is it?
Well, it is big, and that's of course why it's not a straightforward deal. By the way, I know that you've got a real coup coming up. You've got Lieutenant General Mike Flynn, and I would just give congratulations to his brother for taking the position up on Hawaii, which is the Pacific Command, which is Taiwan and China, interesting territory. So I think that's gone to a really good guy, and I think that's great. Okay, that's my bit of thing out of the way.
Thank you for plugging the General Flynn appearance. I appreciate it.
Well, yeah, and I put it on the website. I mean, the thing is that, he's we've talked to, he's a great guy, and shouldn't need to say any more about it. Well, I'm happy to say more, but everybody knows he's a good guy.
Yes. The
difficulty we've got is that we tend to think about America, but the reality is there is a bunch of countries, and some of those names of those countries, many Americans haven't even heard of. And I'm not being disrespectful. It just doesn't come up in your news. And yet there's action going on there. And it makes us realize that the bad guys aren't just in America. They're all over the globe.
Yep.
And, it means that when action is taken, to be honest with you, America will be the last country, because it's easily to contain it. Somebody said to me that the military can put a bayonet to the mainstream media in America and say, you have a contract with us to carry broadcasts, which they do, but they can't do that to other countries. So I sent an emergency message out to all my coordinators in America today saying, there's a really good chance that you guys are going to hear what's happening before the rest of the English-speaking world, because it looks like, from what I'm picking up, that only American cell phones or American channels carried by satellite or cable will actually carry these emergency broadcasts when they happen, but we won't get it in other countries, perhaps for days afterwards. So we won't know exactly what you're being told. So I've got to deal with my coordinators to feed back. And that's a very interesting point. So in terms of the big picture, I think they've got to get other countries sorted. They are dealing with child trafficking in the United States at the moment. There's a big push on the children on the underground bases, not just in America, but certainly looking at that now. There's a big deal going on there. There's a lot of activity with not the very top ranks, but just under the top ranks, the individuals who can control large corporations. You saw the boss CEO stepping down from Amazon, and that was because he was told that there was a charge coming for him, and he was due to be arrested in about 3 months' time, and that it would be very good in his interest to stand down. He did stand down, and the press conference he gave, the note he gave, said that I am leaving, quote, to spend more philanthropic time working on climate change. Now, I'll be honest with you, the CEO, the richest man in the world, doesn't leave the top job to go and worry about climate change. So he's clearly been booted out. And the other news we've got is a lot of Amazon employees have received messages saying that they may not have a job after the 12th of this month, 12th of February. It's possible that the executive order that President Trump wrote about foreign interference and foreign money may mean that a proportion of Amazon's assets may be seized by the government. So there's an awful lot going on.
My goodness, yes. With regards to another thing that you mentioned here, the FBI shooting, I'm curious to get your take on what's the real story behind that, Simon?
I genuinely don't know. What was portrayed wasn't what happened. All I can tell you is all I know, which was, quote, "We got exactly who we were going after."
Okay.
We got exactly who we were going after. And it's obviously an incredibly sensitive situation, and nobody's going to give that to me over an open line.
Right.
But that's what I've got. Now, the other interesting thing, and it's just a whim, Doug, just a whim, that you've got Super Bowl coming up, haven't you?
Yes, we do.
Have you picked up anything about Super Bowl?
Now you have to. My boy Mahomes. I have a team that I prefer, Simon.
Is that the
Kansas City Chiefs?
Chiefs. I'll say the Indians. Yes, the Chiefs.
The Indians. Yes. Well,
yes.
The Chiefs.
And the other one's not the Buccaneers.
The Buccaneers. Yes.
I'm not bad for Brit, am I?
No, you're very good. Spot on. Very nice.
Really? Well, look, this is just chatter, so please don't. I'm not pushing this as this is going to happen, but there's just chatter, and it's just interesting.
Yeah.
That there's and it might just be a few people sitting around a table saying how nice it would be if a B-1 Rockwell Lancer bomber were to fly over the Super Bowl while the audience and the people are there. I think it's called the nice name for it, or the friendly name, is called the Bone. It's called the Bone. But in my day, it was called the North American Rockwell B-1 bomber.
Yes. Well, there is a tradition, at least in my neck of the woods, in the Kansas City, at every Chiefs game, a B-1 bomber typically flies over, just prior to or after we sing the national anthem.
Okay. Well, I think this might fly a bit lower.
Okay. Good.
So just watch for that. I mean,
okay.
As I said, it's just it's a way of the military expressing its connection to the people, and there are certain people that are looking for every opportunity to do that, but not do something that's totally out of the ordinary, but perhaps trying to do something. So, in terms of timescales, I don't think that the good guys can leave Biden in there much longer, because I think in the middle of February, that's only say a week and a bit away now.
Yeah,
I think that they're going to try and put Harris in and replace Biden. His dreadful slip about 400 or 600,000 inoculations would be enough for 300. Has so convinced the Biden team, or those who pull the strings, that they decided that maybe it's time to get rid of him. So that, I think, will be a very big mover for the good guys, because they don't want somebody, because Harris has got half a brain, and they don't want someone with half a brain in there.
Right. The slip-ups have been incredible, Simon. And now that you mention it, there was another one, and I don't, they may all well be related to each other, but this week, Harris was, dispatched to go to various places to quell some of the uproar with regards to the Keystone Pipeline shutdown, and some of the jobs that will be lost, not only in the middle of the country due to that, but also some coal mining jobs in West Virginia and so forth. And she said something rather extraordinary and just so far-fetched. She said, well, for all of you people working on the pipeline and in our coal mines, providing us energy, we're going to transition you now to sweep for land mines. Did you hear that story?
What I heard, it's funny, isn't it? But and I don't pick it up from mainstream, but what I heard was, and she may have said this sort of off camera or off mic, but she was talking to a group of people who I guess were Virginia miners. And what was reported to me, she said, when Biden kills off your jobs, you're going to have to transition to manufacturing jobs. And then she made the thing about mines, but nobody was clear whether she was talking about disused mines, as in an old mine that's no longer working, or whether she's talking about a minefield.
Right.
I can't believe she's talking about a minefield, but
No.
these two are so prone with mistakes that you can't afford to do that. If you're on the world stage, you can't make mistakes like that. And the only mistakes President Trump made were lies when the newspapers said he said something and he never did.
Right.
And you've only got to look at the new White House press secretary, and they haven't a clue, because they're getting no information in from anything that's to do with the military project at all. And so they don't know. That's why the lights go off at 11 o'clock every night, almost, at the White House, because there's nobody working there.
Yeah.
There's nobody there. Right. And they all go off on a timer. It is the biggest theatrical clown show that we've ever seen. And I'm different from other people because I don't say I'm enjoying this. There are lots of people saying, get the popcorn, enjoy the show. I'm not enjoying this. This is a road I don't like. Every day these people are in, something bad is happening. And I just wish to goodness that the time would be right and to do what we need to do.
Right.
I don't enjoy, for me, it's not fun. I know there are lots of people that are enjoying what's happening. And I'll be honest, Doug, I want it just gone. I just want it all done. The sooner the better. And let's get on to heal the place and get things the way they should be.
Right.
And I don't think the American people can stand much more of it, because it's gut wrenching when you see some of the things going on. I mean, that looks like now unaccompanied minors coming across the border will be allowed in across the wall as long as they're unaccompanied. This is exactly how child trafficking starts, because you bring a 6-year-old kid in and then suddenly her uncle or his uncle turns up with fake documents. Oh, I'm the uncle of this child. That's why Trump stopped all that, not because he hated Latinos, because he hated child trafficking. That's why he stopped it. And so I'm very, very passionate about, not going back to this rather sleazy environment that we had before Trump came in.
Right. Clearly, we are in agreement. I think that every day that goes by, the republic is further eroded. It's done away with, and they are finally living up to the mantra of Barack Hussein Obama about fundamentally transforming America into a nightmare of itself, of completely turn about face from the values and the traditions of our founding fathers, and it puts the world at risk.
Yes, it does. And I mean, one of the things about the Capitol building hello, dog, with the Capitol building that happened, the one advantage there is that they will not try to remove the Second Amendment. Not now. So oddly enough, all of that shenanigans around the Capitol building has meant that the people behind the Biden team are quite frightened. And so we won't see an assault on the Second Amendment. I think what we will do, if they get enough time, 2 seconds, let me just get the dog, come and sit. What we might do is see an attack on the Bill of Rights. I know that they want to rewrite the Constitution. If you pack the Senate, you can do that. They want to do away with the Bill of Rights. They want to take away the right of an individual to actually think. Now that sounds, people laugh at me, but it's true. Because if a person thinks, they question. And if you take away the right of a person to think, or the need to think, you're not a person, you're a robot.
Right.
And you've only got to look at Biden. He's a robot.
Absolutely. I think that Barack Obama, you and I say that these people lie, and they do. They are quite good at it. Every once in a while, though, they tell us the truth, like Barack Obama did a few weeks ago, perhaps a month or so ago now, where he said, I would rather quite fancy being, on my patio in the Hamptons, whispering into the ear via electronic device to the president's ear, therefore getting my third term. I think he's telling the truth there. And I think that he definitely has now his third term. I think he's pulling a lot of the strings behind the entire life of Administrator Biden.
I absolutely agree with you. We know that Biden has an earpiece, and the classic example for even people who, claim to be awake but can't accept this, the point when he was told in his ear to salute the guards.
With the Marines. With the Marines. With the Marines.
Yes.
And instead of saluting the guards, he actually spoke it, because how it works is that he's told what to say and he just says it.
Yep.
So these bad people, and I mean Obama, they are forced by the very laws that they create within their own club. They are forced to tell the people beforehand what they intend to do. Otherwise, it doesn't have the magic hold. That's how these guys work with their magic, that they must tell you. And so somebody, it may not be Obama, but it will be a script. Somebody is telling Biden what to ask for in terms of executive orders, or what questions to ask, and what he wants his officials to do. And so it isn't Clinton. It isn't Clinton that's calling the shots, because she's been so heavily tarnished that the bad guys have sort of sidelined her now, and they've gone back to Obama. And we knew this when they started to promote Obama's book at the fall of last year.
And we saw evidence of that again, Simon, speaking about Biden and his complete inability to know and understand what's going on around him. There was a photo op of him signing, a stack of so-called executive orders. And so, he mumbled under his breath, what am I signing? What am I? And a voice from afar, just sign the thing. I mean, it was almost comical. It is comical. Just sign it, Joe.
But the thing is that actually is exactly what happens on a stage or on a set, where the guy forgets his words and then the prompt shouts it out. So it may not even have been in the White House. It could have been a mock-up studio.
Yeah.
And they're so useless, they didn't even edit it out. That's it. But you see, maybe these bad guys know they're time limited. Maybe they know they've only got a period of time. And there is some talk that certain key figures have actually been arrested and then released. And the main public are having a real problem with that, because why would you release them? And why do they go back to the day jobs? But I've got some sympathy with the possibility that some of these characters have indeed been arrested and are at this time plea bargaining to attempt to lessen the penalty coming down the line.
Interesting. Any other details about that? Any specific people that you have suspicions about with regards to that?
The big one will be Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend.
Oh, yes.
The mainstream media are absolutely silent, and that, of course, is a dead giveaway. What I've heard is that she's been singing like a canary, and my particular interest is the salvation of these children who are being held,
right?
Child trafficking, being held in these underground places. I have heard from another party that she has given some very valuable locations of where some of these kids are,
Thank God.
She's apparently giving a lot of information. Now, also, again, it's very difficult for the United States of America. It seems to be that anybody who's had a high grade public office, even when they do wrong, it's very difficult to prosecute them because it stains the office of that person. So, for instance, the head of the CIA, that person, and I said at the time, was caught red-handed in Frankfurt, and was on her way to Gitmo, and decided that she would, be very helpful and give lots of information, and then she was fired from her job, of course.
Yeah.
So there are some key people who have actually given information, and what's so, for me, and I find it absolutely incredible that these key people in the media, they must know some of these top names are being arrested or charged, yet they still persist in peddling these lies. And that's what Satan does. Satan stokes the fire, even when the fire is contracting. They still keep trying to put coal on the fire.
Right. Agreed. Well, we can only hope that they keep that lady alive, Giselle. We hope.
I think they will. They check on her every 10 minutes, 24/7. Every 10 minutes they go to check her physically.
Simon, let me get your take, and for our last question, it might take some time here, but the events that have happened in Myanmar.
All right.
A lot of parallels with regards to voting, the Dominion systems. A lot of talk and chatter out there about it being a quote unquote dress rehearsal for something that may happen here. Any thoughts on that? What if any information do you have? Thoughts on that?
Right. Well, we should all draw comfort from the fact that Biden and his team criticized the military for removing her. So as soon as they said that, we know she was a bad person.
Yep.
Absolutely. As soon as Biden came out and said, you can't be doing that, that's a democratic government.
Yeah.
No. Clearly then, it's the military that have done the good job. Remember, this woman, she served 14 years in prison previously. So that's not been told by the mainstream media. She's in and out of prison. What's happened is the military got heartily sick of her and decided they would do it. Now, I wrote, it probably wasn't very nice, but I wrote to somebody in America, and I call it, Burma. I said,
Burma, yeah.
I call it that because it was part of Britain a long time ago.
Yeah.
Part of the empire. And I said, look what Burma's done, what the American military couldn't do. Now, I wasn't trying to be rude, but what I was trying to say was, it can be done, and you have to have the stomach for it, and you have to have the determination. Now, to answer your question, they're not doing it as a dummy run for the US because they know what to do. But I tell you where they are interested is the fallout. What do the under 25s do? What does this group do? What does that group do? So it's looking at how the citizens react. And that's very interesting for them. The difference is, of course, that Biden is an old man and doesn't appeal to young people, doesn't appeal to anyone, but doesn't appeal to young people. Whereas she appealed to the young, students in particular. So basically, it'd be easier to get rid of Biden than it would be to get rid of her.
I see. Interesting. Excellent. Yeah, it's definitely a story. And I think your point's well taken. I hadn't considered the fact that they would be watching the reaction of those demographics of folks that you mentioned.
Doug, one more is that look how the rest of the world has been muted. You would expect an enormous outcry from the rest of the world. It's the end of democracy. The military have done this. Everyone's being quiet and they know the real score. I think, oddly enough, the leaders of other countries know more than the American people. I think they know what's coming and they're playing it very cool. Look how few international leaders want to meet Biden. Nobody wants to meet him. They'll pick a phone up and have a chat with him, but they don't actually want to meet him. That's telling, very telling. Normally when a president comes in, everyone's queuing up. I know when Trump did his first term, you know, the British Prime Minister was like, I want to be the first person. They're fighting over it.
Yep. Yep.
It's a very interesting thing, and it gives us heart and it gives us hope that actually not too long now to wait for justice to come through.
Good. Well, Simon, that's why I like speaking with you and having you on the show. Those kinds of perspectives are what people in the world need to hear. And I don't need to tell you that when this show airs, people around the world will comment on this, and they look to America and the situation going on as an important one because it affects everybody.
Yes.
And your information, your perspective, and your opinions on all of this is something that I appreciate very much. And you, in part, are due to the success that we've had. I mean, in January, over almost 5 million people have watched this channel, and it's just astounding. And part of that, most of that, really is due to you. And so I'm forever appreciative to you for that.
I'm just very glad to help. I mean, it's, you know, we all get attacked because there are lots of people who, when it appeared that President Trump hadn't been successful, lots of people who'd been hiding under the bushes suddenly came out and were pretty nasty to many of us who were supportive. But it's quite interesting that a lot of the people who are being nasty don't actually look into the history of it. And I know what's going to happen in the future, in the sense that good always beats evil.
Right.
There's going to be a big turnaround, you know, and, you know, I am still going to America, but it probably won't be till summer now because of the situation.
Yep.
But the plans, I think, are laid out well. The good people, they do know what they're doing. And I know that word trust the plan didn't go down too well, but they do have access to information that ordinary people don't have. So we have to at least say that they must know more than we do. Therefore, they can make a better judgment call than we can.
Righto, right. Good will prevail. I agree. And I have said in every show, I always say we must proceed with determined prayer and determined patriotism, no matter where we are, and give ourselves a bit of patience to see this through and do the hard work, by the way, of patriotism. It's not easy.
I can't wait for it to turn around, because then I'll be allowed back onto YouTube.
Good.
It's not that I'm going to say, I told you so, or I was right and you were wrong.
Yep.
But what I will say is, for those people who went their own way, they need to reevaluate how they discern truth. Right. They need to ask themselves, when faced or given a piece of information, why did they look at the negative aspect? Why did they not see the positive side? And then I would ask those people, when this all comes around, to take themselves off for a few days and to try and do some inner work with themselves and to see what went wrong. You know, why is it that certain people became very angry and vicious and cross, and others were not? And I think that that's the way that humanity is dividing. And, you know, I know that we are only headed towards a positive outcome, but I think those people who have reacted in the way they have, perhaps when things turn around, and they're going to, they might take some time out just to check themselves over.
Good advice. Amen.
Okay.
Well, Simon, listen, it's been a pleasure. For those people that are watching, Simon and I are going to try to do this twice a month. Simon, we'll try to get together, have a chat with each other. I appreciate it very much indeed. And we'll send you the links so that if you feel like this is worthy of your website, you can get it posted up there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very happy to do it. I mean, the link you gave me before, we didn't pick that up because we're hit with so many mails, but we picked it up and it's on the thing now.
All right.
And I haven't yet received my painting, but, you know, as soon as the poster arrives, I'll
yes. It's in the mail. It's in the mail. I promise you that.
Yeah, it's not a check, so I know it will arrive. So listen, God bless to you. God bless to General Flynn, and you know, speak to you soon. Okay, Doug.
Thank you, Simon. God bless. Good night.
Bye-bye.